All right, guys, welcome back to the garage. Now Wednesday the 18th of August, 6:30 p.m. just out in the garage after work. We've done some cleaning of the garage and sort of temporarily reorganized some bits from the left hand side of the garage over to the right hand side of the garage so that we can get the body tub and chassis of the 250 out of the trailer into this big empty space here, where we'll set it up on jack stands and we'll start the final reassembly phase of the project. Woohoo! There's the old girl looking resplendent, and we'll get her out of the trailer, we'll get her set up, and we'll continue on with the work. Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. Now Friday, and to be honest with you, I can't remember where I left off. I think I had threatened to bring the body tub and chassis out of the trailer and put it up on jack stands. I don't think I showed you that I actually did get that done the last time I was out in the garage, which I think was Wednesday night, so a couple of nights ago. I know it was awfully hot in the garage, that's for sure. Anyway, we did get the car up on stands and in a good position within the garage so you can work around it easily enough. I know Lynn was complaining the last time he was here that he had to hobble around the car and my engine hoist was in the way. So we put that away in the trailer along with a bunch of other stuff to clean up the sort of left-hand side of the garage a bit more. So let's talk about the next steps on this project. All right, next steps, unfortunately, are going to involve a bunch more color sanding and buffing. And as I'd mentioned, I need to do the areas that are obviously showing on the body tub. For example, this rear saddle piece needs to be done before I put the Siri backlight section on. Obviously, that's going to sit here in this rear area, so I want to make sure that I've got this area buffed out before they put that big backlight on here. So that's one area that needs to be done, along with these legs at the rear. And of course the rear valence will need to be sanded here as well. There's not a ton of stuff on the body tub that needs to be sanded, but of course it all needs to be done. I'll have to do the sills at some point. I've got a little bit of glue there to remove. Hopefully that will come up okay. We'll see. I may have to touch that area up, but we'll do the sills, and then of course the main project on the body tub is going to be the bonnet or hood, and I'm kind of looking forward to getting this done to see how good this will come up. I'm pretty sure that we're not going to have any issues with it. I don't see any of those little divots or voids that I had in the one door. I do have that one big dirt nib to get rid of here in the center of the bonnet, but I'm pretty sure this will sand out. It'll definitely look better than it does right now. I'm not even sure if you can see that. Yeah, you can. So that's the probably the major flaw in the bonnet, right dead center in the middle here. But I think I'll be able to get that out, so it shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. So that will be a big job to get this color sanded and buff, obviously by far the largest panel on the car. And then of course we need to do the front valence area as well. So we're going to concentrate on the areas that we need to concentrate on as we go. For example, we won't do the front valence area until we actually are ready to put the grille and the front bumper on. The areas that we need to work on, we're going to actually work on. So we'll do the rear saddle piece first, and we'll also do the bonnet, because the bonnet needs to be removed in order to get the wings on effectively. And I probably want to color sand the underside of the bonnet. You'd probably all be upset if I didn't do that. I was threatening not to do it on the underside of the bonnet and the underside of the boot lid. I was just going to leave, but I think I'm going to have to color sand that. So we'll probably do that, but the hood or the bonnet will come off at some point, so we can fit the fenders a little bit easier. Now, we'll talk a little bit about next step to get the fenders ready. So we're going to try to break the sanding, color sanding and buffing up a little bit with doing some other work in the meantime that requires some, prep and drying time in between. So as mentioned previously, the insides or the interiors of the wings need to be truck bed linered or Raptor linered. I mentioned that I was going to be doing Raptor liner, which is what I've done here on the exterior of the body tub. The only problem is I only have one bottle of the Raptor liner left. I thought I had two, but I've only got one after doing a bit of a search. So I've gone out this morning and I bought this Duplicolor bed armor, which is a Kevlar reinforced bed armor. I've actually used the lower branded Duplicolor product, which is not the Kevlar reinforced one, on the TR6 project that I restored about 14 years ago, and that looks as good as the day that I applied it. So I have no qualms about using this product on the TR250 on the insides of the fenders. So we're going to prep the front two fenders for the Duplicolor bed armor because those are the first things that are going to go back on the car. Of course, I need to do some work on the wing vents as well and fit those screens or the vent grills in there as well. So I bought a few little bits to help me do that at the hardware store as well. I bought some self-tapping screws here. I bought an angle driver because I'd mentioned, and we'll get to that point a little bit later, there's very little access to actually get a even a screwdriver in there to actually drive a self-tapping screw. So I've got this angle drive that we're going to try and use on our impact gun. So we'll see if that works, and about a few more stainless steel bits. And I probably didn't mention it, but we're going to be rolling and brushing the bed liner on as opposed to spraying it. Just it's a little bit safer and a little less messy. I don't have to worry about overspray by not spraying it. And we'll just use the brushes and the rollers to apply the bed armor to the interior of the wings. So those are the tasks that I have ahead of me. So stay tuned. I guess we can start with probably setting up a table. We'll bring out maybe the driver's side wing first, which is going to be the most difficult wing to fasten at the front, because the wing vents, you can just see through the opening there. I have some clearance issues with the clutch master and the brake master being in the way, and I knew that was probably going to be the case, so I actually haven't even hooked these up on the interior of the car. I didn't put the clevis pins in, as I knew I'd probably have to remove these to actually fasten the wing vents. So anyway, there's spaces at a bit of more of a premium on the driver's side, so we'll probably get the hardest side done first, and then we'll move on to the passenger side front wing, which will be a little bit easier. All right, so like I said, we'll probably bring the wings out, the front wings out. We'll try to get those bed linered and drying, and then we'll probably, while that's happening, we'll start color sanding on the bonnet. All right, we'll be back. All right, I figured we'd do a little unboxing of this bed armor kit in case you wanted to use it on your project. So here's what it looks like. This was about $150 Canadian at my local parts store. So it does go on sale occasionally, so you might want to wait for that, but I couldn't wait. So in the kit, instructions. You do have a small kit here, so you've got a roller, like a textured roller, a brush, a scuff pad, and a cheap plastic roller tray to utilize. So anyway, you get that as part of it. And then you get a gallon can. If I can get it out here. And then just a gallon can of the bed armor itself. So there's the kit. 150 bucks worth. Anyway, that should do, oh, forgot one more very expensive thing to add to the kit. You also get a stir stick. All right, so that's going to be more than enough to do the 4 inner fenders. So we'll go ahead and we'll bring fenders out, start scuffing them down and following the directions, and we'll start applying that bed armor. Alright guys, we're just about to start the bed liner process on the front fenders. I have the passenger side up here first. I was going to do the driver's side, but the passenger side was easier to get out of the dining room. So we're going to scuff this down with 240 grit sandpaper, and then follow it up with the maroon Scotch-Brite in the areas that we can't get to. This does have a coat of epoxy primer as the base, and then it's of course got some overspray primer and some overspray base coat, and probably some overspray clear coat. So we'll just scuff that down, and then we'll give it a quick clean up with grease and wax remover before we move on to the next step, which is applying the bed liner. I am going to probably do all 4 fenders first, just to get it out of the way. I've covered the car up temporarily, just not to get any extra dust, obviously on the interior bits I'm concerned about, into the carpet and onto the seats, into the dash, etc. So we just covered that up temporarily just to keep it a little bit cleaner while we do some dirty work. So anyway, we'll start sanding, and we'll come back and we'll show you the, or maybe we'll show you a step in the middle when we're applying it. This needs to have two thin coats applied to it, actually a thin coat and a heavier coat. It'll take about an hour to dry between coats, and then we'll just let it sit until it's fully dried before we actually tack it on the car. Alright, quick update for you. We've got both front fenders done, 2 coats. Just got them sitting out here drying in the sun, or relative shade now, but regardless, they look pretty good. I'm not going to be able to see this very well, but so there they are, bed linered. So that should protect them nicely for the next several years at least. Apparently this product can be recoated at any time if you wish. So anyway, so happy with that. Both fenders our front fenders are done. So we've got the 2 remaining rears. We'll do those at a later date, I think. I'm going to try to keep these fenders out in the garage versus bringing them back inside again. So I don't really have room for the rear fenders out here. And I don't really have room in the trailer for them. So maybe we'll just keep them safe in the dining room until we need them. Anyway, we'll move these inside. We're going to de-tape them, and then we'll move them inside for the evening, and we'll get back working on that tomorrow. All right, now Saturday morning, just coming up to 8:30. Unfortunately, we didn't get as much done on the car yesterday as we'd planned. Real work kind of got in the way late afternoon. We did manage to get the 2 front fenders truck bed linered on the interiors, so we're good to go there. It dried up nicely. We're just about to start the wet sanding on the bonnet. We've got our sandpaper soaking. I'm not going to take you along the whole process again. I'll show you the before and after pictures. I know you guys are bored by now of color sanding and buffing, so we're not going to show that step. We'll just show the before and afters. So we're just about to start, and I think what I'll do first is, I'd mentioned before that I'm going to take the bonnet off at some point and flip it over and probably polish, color sand and buff the inside of it. So this would probably be a good opportunity just to check and see how I did as far as the alignment of the side stripes on the fenders. If I just hold them up to the bonnet, I can see if I've got it relatively close, at least in my measurements. So that's been kind of bugging me. I've been sort of curious for the past little while since I've painted those stripes, whether they're going to actually meet up with the bonnet stripes. So maybe we'll just hold those up quickly and see if it looks like it's going to work out. Hopefully, cross my fingers, it's going to work out. Not much I can do now to fix it unless I go back and repaint the whole fender. So I think it's going to stay regardless. So hopefully we got the measurements in the right place and we can move forwards and be happy. All right, let's unwrap this and start the process. All right, although I'm unable to show you, I can tell you that I did hold both fenders up to the bonnet stripe, and I'm happy to report that things look pretty darn good. So I'm happy with that. All those that pre-work and all those measurements paid off, it looks like. But we'll do one final check of it, obviously, when we get them finally bolted up to the car. But preliminarily, everything looks good. All right, so on to the color sanding and buffing of this bonnet. And here is your before preview, and that is the main objective, is to get this guy out, that big spot right here in the middle of the bonnet, which is a big piece of dirt or a bug or something that landed, hopefully in the top coat of clear and isn't very deep. Other than that, just some dirt nibs here and there that should come out fairly easily. And we'll clean up this haze just from some of the orange peel. But other than that, it seems to have sprayed up pretty well. Got a little bit of dirt here, like dust-wise. But we'll take care of that in short order. We'll pop the badge off, obviously, to color sand this. It's not affixed there, it's just sort of sitting in the hole anyway. So yeah, so looking forward to getting this color sanded out. I'm sure it's going to take some time. It is going to be a hot one out here for the next few days in the garage. So we've got the fans standing by. We'll also do this little saddle piece as we go. I know I have a little bit of overspray to deal with there, so we'll have to do a little bit of sanding. And we'll get this buffed out. We'll tape off the, the rubber molding below the windscreen so we don't get compound and polish all over that. So anyway, without further ado, I guess we'll go ahead and hit it. Bring it back who knows when. I know we've talked about it before, but this is a good example where your squeegee can come in handy. As you're doing sections of the bonnet, you can see I've sanded here in this section, and then over here I've stopped. So there's where we're at, just on this top quarter. So it's always good to do a section and then dry it off, and that's where the squeegee comes in handy. I did find my larger 3M wet or dry rubber squeegee, and that will show me if I've missed any spots as far as sanding is concerned before I move on to another area. Still a little bit shiny here, and you can see a couple little dots there. So we're going to do a little bit more concentrated sanding in this area to fix this area before we move anywhere forward of that. So just another quick tip on the use of that squeegee. Alright, that's where we're looking to get back to. This is after the 1500 grit sanding, and we've just given the bonnet a quick wash down, and liking the look of it when it's wet. But we'll give you a shot when it's completely dry and dull before we move on to the 2000 grit. It'll be a bit of a shocker from this to what it looks like after sanding. Incidentally, it does look like I was able to get that dirt nib out a little bit. I can still see a little bit of a shadow where it was, but obviously it's much better. Nothing sticking up above the paint. So again, we've got a couple more grits to go down, so we'll finish that off a little bit better than it is currently, but I think we're going to be okay as far as that big dirt nib that was there just right in the center. So stripes looking good. I thought I'd give you a quick shot of the bonnet when it's been dried off now, and there's a few areas that become apparent that I've missed sanding wherever it's shiny. You can still see that the clear coat is not dull there in that area or over here, so we'll go back and we'll sand this back to 1500 grit in the areas that we missed. There's also a few other little areas that are popping up. As you can see, one here on the bubble, there's a little shiny spot there, a little shiny spot there, so we'll make sure that we sand those down before we continue on. Other than that though, it's looking pretty good. That little dirt nib area looks pretty good. I can just see a little remnant of it there, but I think that's going to sand out okay, and there's a few other little areas that need to be addressed, but looking pretty good. But again, there's what she looks like, all dulled down for the most part, and almost ready for the next step. Touch those areas back up, and then we'll continue on with the 2000 grit and work our way down to the 2500 grit. Stripe's not looking so shiny now. Alright guys, 20 to 3, and I've pretty much been at it since this morning. Took a bit of a break for lunch, and it's hot out in the garage. It's getting pretty close to 90. Earlier it was about 80% humidity. It's just dropping now in the afternoon, which is good. Anyway, still hot. So I guess you want to see the results, the end results. Alright, here you go. Alright, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. It's got a nice shine to it. We got out pretty much most of the marks. You can still see a little hint of that big piece of dirt that was there, but if you didn't know it was there, you'd probably miss it. So I'm pretty happy with the way that sanded out. There's a few little areas I could probably do some touch-ups on that I'm not 100% happy with, but we can always go back and do that at a later date. I am going to have to flip this hood over and do the bottom, and that's probably going to precipitate some scratches on the top side, no matter if I put a blanket down or not. So we'll probably end up going, like I mentioned, once the car is final, all the fenders and all the trim pieces are fitted, we'll probably go back and we'll do one more sort of final sealer coat and buffing at the same time to finish this car off. But that is looking pretty good, I would say, for now. Looks much better than it did. Still some flaws in it, but it's to be expected when you're painting in a dirty garage, and I'm not unhappy with it. So, not a show car. It's supposed to be a nice driver, and I think that's what where we're heading towards. So anyway, that's it for now. So I guess the next step is for me to take the bonnet off and put it aside safely, and then we'll start fitting those front fenders, and then eventually we'll get the bonnet fitted back on after we color sand and buff the underside. Alright, that's it for now, guys. We'll get back out here probably later on tonight, and maybe when it's a little bit cooler, and we'll start working on getting the hood off the car Probably have to give Les a call to give me a hand to take it off. And like I said, we'll put it somewhere safely. Probably move the bike out, set up a table or a stand, put on the, flip it over, and start on the bottom side. All right, probably not the smartest move that I'm going to do, but I'm going to attempt to move this bonnet over to that table by myself. I'm a little bit impatient when it comes to waiting for help. I'm pretty patient when it comes to sanding stuff for hours upon end, but when I need something done, I need something done. So I'm going to attempt to do this myself, and hopefully it won't bite me in the butt. So wish me luck. All of the hinges are undone. So we're just going to lift this off, hopefully easily, carefully, and we'll just set it on the table over there. Then we can start with the Fender installation. Well, it wasn't the most graceful thing, but I think I managed to get it off without doing any damage, which is good. Good to see the engine bay again after a little while. And I guess what I need to do first is I need to figure out the wing vents and get them kind of just situated in their pockets. And in order to do that, I need to figure out how I'm going to get that grill insert back in and how I'm going to affix it. So I guess that is the first thing on the agenda as far as fitting the wings are concerned. So let me figure that out first. I'll go and grab those ducks from the dining room table, bring them out, and we'll play around with them. All right, guys, we've got the vent tubes out on the workbench now, and we're about to try to install the grills without damaging the tubes too much. So I've just taped a little bit towards the front edge of this opening here. I'm going to go in from the front side. These don't have to go too deep, but I don't want to obviously get the tape trapped underneath them, so I've stopped short of where they need to actually mount as far as the fasteners are concerned. So wish me luck. We're going to attempt it and do the best we can without scratching. If I can't get them in, I was thinking of rigging up some sort of stretcher, some sort of turnbuckle to actually try to push these out a little bit. But I'll try to pry them as best as I can. I did make that fit a little bit looser, but obviously now we've got paint and clear coat on there, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult. Anyway, we'll do the best we can to avoid scratching it, but I think it's kind of inevitable. It's just whether it's going to be visible or not is the question. All right, we'll give it a shot and we'll come back. I'm not going to do this on camera, that's for sure. All right, here's where we're at. So the ductwork is in. You can see I've pushed the paint a little bit, but that's fine. It's not going to show as long as I can cut that little bit off, and it's not going to show below that grill. And the tubes look good from the back. I do have those two fasteners in, one here and one on the other side. So we're good there. That's holding the grill in. I think I have access to the back. Actually looks pretty good from the back now that they're finished in the blue. They kind of blend in a lot better than they did before. So I think I have access with my angle drive to be able to put the self-tapping screws in there once the fenders are aligned. So I think this little tool is going to work pretty well to allow me to get down in there and get what I need to get. So that's all positive. So I think what I can do now is I can probably attempt to put a fender on, I think. All right, guys, 7 o'clock, and it's been a long day out here in the garage, so I'm thinking I'm going to take a bit of a break. I've run into a bit of an issue. I don't know if you recall when I test fit the fenders originally, I was having some problems with this bulkhead sealer plate fitting, and that's still a little bit of an issue. One of the issues was that the fasteners that hold this sealer plate on were not there, so I've just actually put a through bolt here and with a nylock nut. The only problem is that then prevents my tube from sliding in and out, and I'm going to need to be able to do that to be able to position the tube within the inside of the fender. So once the fender is on, of course, I won't be able to go back here and tighten these up because there's no space for me to get a hand up in there from underneath. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, I think my solution is going to be I'm going to have to put a riv nut in here, and that way I won't have to get back in here. I can just fasten it and tighten it from the opposite side. So I don't feel like undoing all of that right now and getting the riv nut gun out and drilling holes bigger, etc. So I think at the end of my patience has happened. So we'll probably pick this up tomorrow just to be on the safe side, and we'll get the fenders hopefully fitted tomorrow. So that's it for now, guys. Maybe we'll upload what we've got just so you can see where I'm at, and then we'll get out here bright and early tomorrow and we'll tackle this problem first, and then we'll move on to the passenger side, which should be slightly easier. There's a bit more clearance on that side, but we'll have to wait and see. Alright guys, that's it for now. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, and thanks for subscribing. Have a good night.